Good morning, everyone. Today we are gathered here at the Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science, IACS, to celebrate the National Science Day for 2023. This year's theme is Global Science for Global Well-being. Before we start today's program, may I request our Dean, Faculty Affairs and Research and Development to come and please take the dais. And I also request Professor Devoshri Ghosh, Chairperson Organizing Committee, and Professor, School of Chemical Sciences to come and take the dais. I request Shahida to kindly facilitate Professor Indra Rashgupta. I request Shucharita to felicitate Professor Devoshri Ghosh. We will start today with the welcome address by our chairperson of the organizing committee, Professor Devoshri Ghosh.
Good morning, everybody. On behalf of Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science, I welcome you all to the celebration of National Science Day. As many of you know, the National Science Day is celebrated every year on 28th February to commemorate the discovery of Raman effect by Sir C.V. Raman. He announced his path-breaking discovery on 28th of February 1928. For this discovery, he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1930. Government of India has designated the 28th of February as National Science Day on 1986. Since then, National Science Day is being celebrated every year throughout the country through public lectures and various other theme-based activities. The theme for this year's National Science Day is Global Science for Global Well-being. The theme highlights that the scientific ideas and breakthroughs should transcend the boundary between nations, and the benefits of science and technology should reach every household and bring ease of living to common people. Here in IACS, we have put together an exciting program, hopefully exciting, particularly for the young students, that includes lectures by eminent scientists on a broad range of topics, from chemistry to graphs. We also have a lecture that will discuss about the interface between science and art. I hope you will appreciate that science is not just about a set of subjects like maths, physics, chemistry, biology, etc. It is more important to embrace the scientific temperament, scientific and rational way of thinking in our daily lives. In my view, that is how we should try to celebrate Science Day, and for that matter, every day should become a Science Day. I welcome you again, the students from Rashmani Balika Vidyalaya, Jadavpur Vidyapit and Jadavpur High School. I hope you will enjoy the rest of the day. I would also invite you to actively participate and interact with the speakers during your stay. Thank you, and before I stop, please put your phones in the silent mode because that can be a big distraction. Thank you.
Now I request Professor Indra Rashgupta, our Dean Faculty Affairs and Dean Research and Development, to kindly give us the inaugural address.
Thank you, Purvasha. A very good morning and a very warm welcome to the Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science, particularly to the young students and teachers. And we all know that today we have assembled here to celebrate the National Science Day and which is celebrated to mark the discovery of the Raman effect by Sir C.V. Raman. And this, in fact, this discovery was announced on this day by Sir C.V. Raman. And this day is very special for us. And do you know why it's very special for us? Because Raman effect was discovered in this very institute, right? And this is discovery which we are celebrating all over the country today. Well, a brief history about IACS. So, Indian Association of Cultivation of Science, as we all know, is the oldest research institute in India and also in Asia, founded in 1876 by Dr. Mahendralal Sirkar. And his statue is just outside this auditorium. And Mahendralal Sirkar was educated as a medical practitioner and happens to be the personal physician of the renowned sage Ramakrishna Paramahansa Dev. But he was a doctor and he was doing his job perfectly fine, but he had a mission. And what was that mission? The mission was to establish an institution where lectures on scientific subjects will be systematically delivered. So this was Mahendra's cherished dream, and which was realized when Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science was inaugurated at 12 Bobazar Street campus on July 29, 1876. Right? We'll soon be celebrating 150 years of IACS in the year 2026. And the founder secretary to the association was Mahendralal Sirkar himself, with the first trustee board comprising of persons like Pandit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Keshav Chandra Sen, and many others. And during the early years, the IACS received patronage and even financial help from many other eminent personalities of that time, like Sri Gurudas Banerjee, Raja Rajendralal Mitra, Sri Surendralal Banerjee, Raja Pyari Mohan Mukherjee, and so on. So it is this individual gifts, donations, right, that essentially raised an institute in the pre-independence era so that Indians could come, discuss, and learn about science. Well, so as I said, the original mandate was to deliver lectures, and this original mandate of doing lecturing in science was materialized soon when Father Lapon, Sir Jagdish Chandra Bose, Sir Ashutosh Mukherjee, Rai Bahadur Chuninal Bose began teaching in the association. Well, in 97, IACS entered a new phase, and when it entered a new phase, C.V. Raman initiated serious research in IACS as a part-time worker. So C.V. Raman was carrying out his usual duties in the Accountant General's office in Kolkata, but in his spare time he used to come to this Bobazar Street and he used to do his experiments under this inspiring leadership of Dr. Sirkar's son Amritalal Sirkar, the then secretary of IACS. And the rest you know is the history. The celebrated Raman effect was discovered in 1928, and that culminated in Raman receiving the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1930. Right, so this is the only Nobel Prize, I guess, from, it is the only Nobel Prize from India. Raman still late, right? Raman started a vibrant school of research which attracted quite a few talented scientists like Professor Bhagavatam, Professor K.S. Krishnan, and who further progressed the research along with Raman. So then came independence, and after independence, Meghnad Shah, right, and who discovered the Shah ionization effect, played a big role in making IACS a full-fledged research institute. The campus that you see was essentially built by M.N. Shah with the help of the then Chief Minister of Bengal, Dr. Bidhan Chandra Rai. And this campus was built around mid-50s, and the first director was Professor Shah, and he was the director in this institute from 1952 to 1956. And I also like to mention that IACS was blessed by the presence of several luminaries that included Professor Shwatandranath Bose, right, discoverer of Bose-Einstein statistics, Professor Kedareshwar Banerjee, Professor Poniranjan Chandra Dotto, an eminent organic chemist, Professor Shanti Ranjan Palit, Professor Priyadaranjan Ray, Professor Amal Kumar Raichodri, right, you know the Raichodri equation, to name a few, who made IACS one of the best research institutes of the country. Well, then of course there had been a change, and in 2018, IACS transformed from a research institute to a research university, and have undertaken teaching program in physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics, computation, material science, applied and intelligent science, along with research in frontline areas. And this essentially followed the philosophy of Mahendra Rajshekar. I'd also like to mention that IACS is among the top-ranking research institute of the country, and IACS is soon going to have a new campus at Baruipur in honor of Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, who played a key role during one of the difficult times of IACS, and this campus is referred to as Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Advanced Research and Training Campus, or in short, SMART Campus. So that brings that on February 28th, National Science Day is celebrated to commemorate the importance of science and to remind us of the impact it had on the lives of humans. For this day, and for this reason, this day is very important and special for all of us at IACS, because it reminds us of our past glory, encourage all of us to take this glory further. So let all of us keep this day close to our heart and make it very special. And as mentioned by Professor Devasri Ghosh, that this year's theme is Global Science and Global Well-being. And I'd like to mention that Raman effect is one of the best examples which essentially tells and has played a key role in global science and global well-being. Well, with this I welcome all the school students today to our campus and hope you will spend this day fruitfully gaining knowledge from the lectures that are going to follow and have an enriching experience when you leave for the day. Thank you all and wish you a very good day.
Thank you, sir. We will begin today's program. I invite Professor Topun Kanti Pain to kindly come on stage and start today's lecture. His talk is on chlorofluorocarbons from boon to bane. Professor Topun Kanti Pain is a senior professor in the School of Chemical Sciences and is the Dean Student Affairs at our institute. I request our chairperson to kindly felicitate Professor Topun Kanti Pain before he starts.
Okay, so good morning everybody. Before I start my talk today, let me thank the organizers, particularly Professor Devasri Ghosh and the School Banerjee for having me here. to share some of my thoughts today. So it would be more like a storytelling. Okay, so there's not much chemistry, although this lecture is based on chemistry, but there's not much chemistry. There are many things: history, geography, biology, politics, and everything. So before I start, let me take a stock. How many of you prefer me to talk in English or in Bangla? How many of you like me to talk in Bangla? Okay, so it seems that if I go with Bangla and English, that would be better, right? What do you want? Bangla or English? English. Then let us do that in Bangladesh. Alright, fine. So I'll try to do that, because most of the things are here written in English. If you have any problem, you can stop me and I can explain that also in Bangla. But preferably I'll go in English. That is better because science anyway is an international, as you have seen, that global, science is always global. So let us talk something in a global language. But anyway, I'll also sometimes talk in Bangla. Okay, before I start, do you get what I want to say from this title? This reminds me something like before your Madhyamik exam. There is always in Bengali essay, you have some topic called Bigyan, Ashirvad na Vishal. Isn't it? I don't know. It's very difficult to say whether it is a blessing or it's actually, a kind of problem for us. I don't want to get into that debate. It's a very difficult thing. Okay? So I'll take you through a story, because science is something that when we start practicing science, it's always for well-being, directly or indirectly. But eventually, things take different route, and that's never intentional. So I'll take you through this story of today, the chemistry of chlorofluorocarbons. And as we proceed, and at the end, you will realize what it is about, and will be your judgment whether it's actually a boon or a bane. I'm not going to say anything. That's why I kept the title from boon to bane. Okay, so as the name indicates, chlorofluorocarbons, as you can see here, what is chlorofluorocarbon? Trust me, I'll not talk much about chemistry. Those who hate chemistry, that's also fine. But let us take you to the structures of certain compounds. You see, this is a very simple chlorofluorocarbons. Right? These are hydrocarbons. You all get those things from natural gas or petroleum-based feedstocks. This is called methane, this is called ethane, this is butane, this is propane, this is butane. And you all know this propane and butane are used in cooking gas that you use at home every day. So this is the structure of hydrocarbon, carbon and hydrogen. That's why they are called hydrocarbon. If you replace this hydrogen with a chlorine atom, then this is something called a chlorocarbon compound. That's all. This is what we need for today. So the take-home message is the chlorocarbons are compounds that contain carbon and chlorine. You can see many different carbon and chlorine. Carbon is there, chlorine is there. Carbon and chlorine. Here also carbon and chlorine. Here, instead of this hydrogen on a benzene ring, if you have a chlorine there, you call this chlorobenzene. But you really don't need to know the structure. So the story is not, because it's a popular lecture, so obviously I don't want to do too much of scientific jargon here so that you will not feel biased about this. These chlorocarbon compounds we use every day. Every moment we use chlorocarbon compounds. But we do not talk much about those compounds. Chlorine containing compounds we all use, but not fluorocarbon compounds we talk much. Sodium chloride we take every moment, that's not fluorocarbon. The salt. or bleaching powder, which you see everywhere. That's not fluorocarbon because there is no carbon there. So what is special about fluorocarbon? So as you can see here, that we use really a lot of fluorocarbon compounds in our everyday life, from morning to evening, in school, colleges, in transport, everywhere fluorocarbon is there. The seat you are sitting also contains in some form some fluorocarbons. But today what I would like to tell you about some of these fluorocarbon molecules that motivated voyages of exploration and discovery. And not only that, that created attention not only to scientists, but to the lawmakers, to politicians, to lawyers, to medical practitioners, and everyone, including common people. So I will talk about that, and which has implications. What we eat, what we drink, what we wear, and how we take care of ourselves. So without these compounds, the development of human civilization would have been very, very different. So I'll take you through this, but to set that lecture in a lighter tone, let me start with this, and what I'm going to talk about, you will immediately realize this. As you can see, the title, Keeping Cool, right? This is a cartoon. This comic cartoon, you can get it from cartoonstock.com. Okay? Many. Now you go through it, and you will immediately realize what I'm going to talk about. What is this about? Oh God, how old is this yogurt in your fridge? The word fridge is important here. What's the expiration date? Someone is answering May 12, but there is no year. So, it's May 7, that's fine. I'm not sure when it was packaged. Was civilization using Gregorian or Julian calendar? Okay, I'll throw it out. No, it might still be good. There is a lot of things which says this cartoon. It's a refrigerator that makes our thought like that. We rarely throw away things because we have this refrigerator at home. Or sometimes we use, here, we're sitting here, someone is coming, right? We tend to go to a place which is cooler place, right? This room, air conditioning is operational. And what do you see? Guess who went out last weekend? That's right, the air conditioner. Hope it had a good time. I didn't. You understand what? Anyway, here there is another one. You can see here the polar bears are putting kind of a seal inside the refrigerator and saying, damn global warming, you will have to put it in the freezer. Now this slide talks about everything what I'm going to talk about. Refrigerator, air conditioning, and global warming. So what is the relation to all these things? So let me just talk about this chemistry of cooling, or rather science of cooling. Let us see. If cooling is an essential thing to keep foods for a long time, and it's not that we are using the cooling devices, the fancy cooling devices today. People knew it from ancient times. As if you look at around 1700 BC, one of the first ice houses was built near the river Euphrates, which actually starts from Turkey to Syria to Iran, and eventually this ends at the Gulf, the Persian Gulf. And the ancient civilization started there. And people knew from experience that how to store ice. They used to get ice from mountains during winter, and they used to keep it for use in summer so that they can preserve certain foods. Around 500 BC, first yak shells appear in Persia. And this is a kind of house where ice used to be stored. And they were a type of evaporative cooler. And you know what evaporative cooler is. Nowadays, we really don't give that attention to evaporative cooler. But long back, when refrigerator was not people used to keep water in earthen pots, right? And in earthen pots, water is always remains cool. Why? Because there are pores, there are micro pores in earthen pots, and water evaporates. And the latent heat that is collected from there eventually keeps the water cool. Water evaporates from there, and it makes the water cool. So the same technology, the same principle was actually adapted by ancient people, and they made technology. In a moment, I'll show you what is that. And even ice storage warehouses were built in South Korea around the end, around 1400 AD. So what was the principle? Very simple principle. Because ice melts, because it absorbs heat, and then it goes to liquid, but in the process, it cools the surrounding. That is so common nowadays that we rarely think about this. So this is what is called an ancient refrigerator. This is something called an IACS in Iran. You will find a lot of structures here. Many people, physicists nowadays and architects are going there and trying to understand that what kind of architecture they made. And they are trying to emulate that nowadays in modern buildings. So this is based on evaporated cooler. And here, this is a dome, and you can see here the pores. And there were water here at the base of this kind of dome. Because you can think of that Iran is an arid region. And in an arid region, you have less moisture in the air. So obviously the evaporation rate will be faster. And in land, during night time, the temperature falls. And this process, they used to keep ice inside these domes. So obviously, they were of real use. And not only that, if you go to many places, right, in Rajasthan, there are a lot of big buildings are there, what you call the mahals. They adapted this technology. All the ancient Mughal architecture, they have this kind of technology they adapted to keep the environment cool. So it is something not that people have not thought about it. But then artificial refrigeration that we talk about. What is this artificial refrigeration? Well, because you see, ice melts, it goes to liquid. But it's not a cyclic process, right? You have to bring back that water from ice to ice form so that you can keep things cool. But what happens? If you want to keep, like if you go to a fish market here in 8B, you will find people are putting ice. And eventually the ice melts and then it drains out. But that means it's not a cyclic process, right? Then you have to make that water again ice. So which is not a cyclic process. But how to do this cyclic process? The cyclic process works on a principle called evaporation compression cycle. So a liquid upon warming and cooling somebody, it gets to liquid form, or a liquid goes to vapor form, and then the vapor you compress it, cool it, and then it comes back again to the liquid phase and the cycle continues. And this is the principle of today's refrigeration or anything, any refrigeration process. This is the basic principle. What is that? You keep here the liquid or liquid vapor mixture or interface where warm air is taken out by that and the air gets cooled. Eventually the liquid gets vapor and it is passed to a compression. The word compression you are all familiar with. What does compression do? The compressors, they just compress the gas, and what it does, if you apply pressure, the volume of the gas will decrease according to Boyle's law. All of you are studying that, right? And then this compressed gas eventually goes to a condenser where it could be water-based condenser, where water passes continuously and it gets again to the liquid form. You have an expansion valve, that expansion valve takes it to a liquid phase again, and the cycle continues. So all kind of refrigeration today is based on this basic principle, what you call the evaporation compression cycle. So now let us think about this. When people started to think about this, that ice cannot be the future. It was around 1748 when ether was demonstrated to have a cooling effect as a refrigerant. Ether means, many of you sometimes feel this ether thing. When you get cool feeling here when you take a shot, isn't it? Don't you get it? And they put something and then you put it top of that, you put a little cotton on it, so you feel that. So this is the effect of which was felt in about 1748. And then in around 1856, it took about 100 years to take it to its application stage. So in 1856, this is an Australian, a British, who emigrated to Australia, who developed a machine just using this ether, where ether liquid vapor compression technique he utilized to prepare ice. So now it's the beginning of the refrigeration era. And this is the ice machine that he prepared based on this particular cycle. So he is called, James Harrison is called the father of refrigeration. Then in 1859, there was another gentleman from France, Ferdinand Carré, who developed a gas absorption refrigerator system, and he used ammonia gas in liquid water, and this ammonia and water mixture he used for the refrigeration purpose. And that was a beginning of a new era. Why? I'll show you in a moment. Other than ether, ammonia, there were some other compounds like methyl chloride, sulfur dioxide. They were all gaseous compounds, but if you compress them, they will become liquid. And this liquid and gas combination of cycle was utilized. Nowadays, today you think of using as a coolant. It's a very difficult thing because sulfur dioxide is so stinky. Because immediately it gets oxidized to sulfur trioxide, and then it takes up water and eventually forms sulfuric acid. So it's quite dangerous. But these are the basic, first lot of compounds that were used because they satisfy this condition of vapor liquid compression and evaporation cycle. So diethylene for ammonia, methyl chloride and sulfur dioxides were used. And in fact, world's first artificial skating rink was made in Chicago around that time, 1860 or so, using sulfur dioxide as the coolant. But you can imagine how messy it would be. After doing a few cycles of skating, the place will be strongly acidic, it will be stinky, and it's very difficult to work there. Now, this ammonia-based cycle was really created in history. Because in European countries, they had less production of meat, but they wanted meat because in cold weather you need a lot of protein source, but they had not enough supply of these proteins, which were primarily beef and lamb and all those things. So they had to rely on getting meat from South America or from Australia or from New Zealand. The only way is to sea route. But how you can, it takes months. This voyage from, think of a distance of Europe from Australia or New Zealand, or distance from Europe to South America. It's quite a lot of distance, right? And the voyages can take days, months, even years. How can you keep the food that you are actually importing from those places for such a long time? So how do you keep them really useful? They used to put spice and salt. But again, the spice and salt is not a good option. They were really found because after several rounds of this import, you realize that they are actually getting mold and many other things because salt was not, first of all, you have a moist air, right? Because you are going through sea. So you have a moist air. The salt was absorbing water, and therefore the things were not working as they expected. So therefore they were looking for a refrigeration system so that they can keep the food, the beef or lambs or other meats or even other food products in a refrigerated system so that they can import it from those faraway places. And the first voyage that started from Argentina to the port in France, which was in 1877. And these two steamers, what is called Le Frigorific and Paraguay, they carried frozen beef from Argentina. And this first established a proof of concept that ammonia-based refrigerant was useful, which could be utilized in a large scale, and eventually did signal the end of preserving food or other meals using spice and salt. So refrigeration started from that point. But what are the requirements? Because they are good, ammonia is good, they were working at least. When you have nothing, if you have something, this way science progresses, right? As long as it is useful, you keep it. But then you find that there are problems. So it's like a stair, no? You cannot just go directly from the ground floor to the top floor. You have to pass through all the stairs to the top floor. Science is like that. But if you go to the first floor, you could feel about it. You learn a lot. And then that is the beginning so that you can go to the other floors, go through this. And you should not discard all these things because that tells you how we can develop certain new things. So let us see what are the ideal refrigerants. As you understand that if someone is liquid and remain liquid for a long range of temperature, it will never evaporate. So it cannot be used as a refrigerant. So they must have certain properties. So the refrigerant compounds must vaporize within a right temperature range. Must liquefy by compression against with the right temperature range. And these are something to do with, all of you have studied, with latent heat of evaporation and thermal, or what you call the heat it can keep. So all these things must absorb large amount of heat as it vaporizes. So all these compounds that were in use during that time, they satisfy the criteria. But there are problems. What are the problems? As I indicated, they tend to decompose. There are fire hazards associated with this because they are flammable. Some of them are poisonous, and they smell terrible. So how can you use it in a large scale? And all these problems triggered the scientists' mind to come up with alternatives. And what could be the alternatives? In the meantime, they are used in different commercial purposes started. So the demand for refrigeration, both commercial and domestic purposes, started to grow. There were booming economy because one can keep foods stored for a long time. Farmers were happy. Even some of the businessmen who were actually doing this import-export business, they were also happy. So obviously the economy was growing very fast. And then people started to realize, oh, that's a good thing, I can keep something like that in my own house. So they started, a demand started from society, from common people, and commercial refrigeration system developed not only for trading purpose, but also for domestic purpose. And by the beginning of 20th century, around 1913, this homemade refrigeration system were developed. And around 1920s, it started to replace the traditional ice box in which people used to keep it, right? In this market, they always use this ice box, but because the other things are expensive. But the problem is that the compressors they used to do this, they were so noisy. Sometimes nowadays, if you carefully check your refrigerator at home, you get some noise, right? Sometimes, huh? What is that noise? It's a noise of compression, and there is a noise of liquid flowing, like something like that. and also you feel the heat on the side of the refrigerator, on the refrigerator. So these are all effect of this, but that time obviously the technology was not up to what we have today. So obviously they were so noisy, the compression was so noisy because there you need power. Right? And they used to keep those in the basements, because in European countries or Western part hemisphere, what you always have is that they have an underground storage space or rooms. So they used to keep those refrigerators underground in order to avoid listening this compression noise always. But they were of the early refrigerator. But as I told you that the quest for knowledge and to develop new things depending on demand and also out of intellectual curiosity, scientists started working on it. So almost 50 years, people were really happy with all these things. But since the first homemade refrigerator came in 1920s, the problems like complaints from users started to come in. And industries are always there to come up with alternatives. So General Motors, GM, many of you heard, is an American company who produces car and also other things. They instructed their engineers and scientists that you come up with an alternative refrigerator or refrigerant system so that all the side effects can be avoided. And what that could be. So these two gentlemen who were working at General Motors that time, Thomas Midgley and Albert Henne, they started to look for compounds that were likely to have boiling points within the defined range of refrigeration cycle. And after about 10-15 years of research, exactly the same year when C.V. Raman discovered his famous Raman effect in this institute, the same year these two gentlemen announced that they found an alternative of ammonia or ether. What are those compounds? So they prepared a large number of compounds containing 1 or 2 carbon atoms and varying the number of fluorine and fluorine atoms instead of hydrogen atoms. So hydrocarbons, if you replace hydrogen with fluorine and chlorine, then you get a compound, something what we all know called chlorofluorocarbons, or in short form called CFC. You know, this gentleman was a very interesting person. A little bit of history also sometimes they use this story. He is the person who developed the anti-knocking agent for car engines, the tetraethyl lead, and he died of lead poisoning. Interesting thing is that when he was demonstrating the effect of chlorofluorocarbon and its refrigeration property in American Chemical Society meeting in 1927, he wanted to convince people that this is really, really useful. For that, what he did, he used to inhale this CFC and showing the audience that, see, I am fine. So they are kind of mad people who love science so much that for discovery they can go to any extent. And since he was the discoverer of tetraethyl lead, he died of lead poisoning in 1944. So now let us talk about chlorofluorocarbon, which are called perfect refrigerants. This chlorofluorocarbon, as I said here, this is hydrocarbon. Let's see, this is methane. So if you replace these hydrogens either with chlorine or fluorine, you get a large number of combinations. And those combinations eventually give you different chlorofluorocarbons, and they satisfy all the requirements for a good refrigerant. And moreover, they additionally were very stable, they were not flammable, they were not toxic at that time. Inexpensive because they were cheap to prepare, so industrially it was useful, and they were almost odorless. So you don't get any smell of those compounds. So they found really good use. DuPont took the patent and immediately started producing this compound. Now let us see what they are called. So these freons, or the DuPont started calling them in the trade name freons. So if you look at this one, you have 2 fluorine and 2 chlorine and 1 carbon. This is called freon 12. Let me tell you a little bit what this trade name means. So freon comes from the word, chlorofluorocarbon, freezing chlorofluorocarbon, free and on, okay, freon. And this number means, okay, remember it should always be 3 digits, but here it's shown 2 digits, that means there is a 0 before that. Why that 0? 0 is the first number, which indicates the total number of carbon minus 1. So in this case you have 1 carbon, and if you 1 minus 1, 0, so the first number will come 0. And then you have 1 here, the second number stands for number of hydrogen atoms plus 1. Now you don't have any hydrogen here on this carbon containing compound, right? So the number will be 0 plus 1, that is 1, and this is 1. Then 2 is the third number, which is the number of fluorine which is connected to carbon. Now here you have 2, that's why it is called. So freon 012 or freon 12. Similarly here you see freon 0, 1 and 1 fluorine. In this case you have 2 carbons, so the first number is already there, 1. And then you have no hydrogen, so 0 plus 1, 1. And then since you have 4 fluorine, this is called freon 114. Okay. And the rest connected to carbon will be chlorine atoms. So they are actually chlorofluorocarbons. Not only that, they found usefulness in refrigeration system as a nice refrigerant, but also industry started using it because they are ideal propellants. You know propellant? What is propellant? If you open a spray bottle, how do you get that spray? Because there is some chemical inside it which expands if you release the pressure and your liquid comes out. So chlorofluorocarbons were inserted in cans so that you can spray things. So they were used as propellants, and also nowadays people still use the styrofoam cups. Nowadays in marriage parties, or not marriage parties, rather picnics and small gatherings, people use these white styrofoam cups and plates. They are not very good. Please know that. You will realize that when I end one day. So they started using styrofoam cups and other containers. The electric circuit boards and other materials, they used to clean it using freon 113, this compound, and also they started using in fire extinguisher this freon 13B1. This everything will remain same. This B stands for bromine, because instead of chlorine here you have 1 bromine atom. That's why, to differentiate it from the other freons, the chlorine containing freon, this is a bromine containing freon. That means it's an industrial boom. So the requirements were really very, very high. So what happened? By the early 1970s, almost 1 million tons of CFCs and related compounds were being produced annually, with an anticipation that this would make the world a better place. And then problems started. This glow of chlorofluorocarbon, it lasted until 1974. When these 2 gentlemen, Sherwood Rowland and Mario Molina, they presented really a toxic effect of this chlorofluorocarbon in an American Chemical Society meeting at Atlanta in 1974. And they said that unlike stable compounds, less stable compounds like other refrigerant like ether, ammonia, sulfur dioxide and all those, they seem very stable, and since they are stable, they are not easily degraded. And moreover, their boiling points are low, so the vapors, they can go up to in the air, not only to the environment in soil, in water, but also to the upper atmosphere. Obviously, the problems are there with plastics, in soil, in water, everywhere. in addition to that, what plastic doesn't have, this chlorofluorocarbons that they can also evaporate and go to the atmosphere. And when they go to the atmosphere in the form of aerosol, they release to the atmosphere and they stay there for years. Hundreds of years even they can stay, and they go to the stratosphere, and eventually they are broken by solar radiation. So good thing, right? Because they are being broken. But broken means at the cost of something. What? At the cost of what? Let us see what is that. So this is something to talk about ozone layer. And all of you studied in your geography that if you go up from the surface of the earth, you have different layers, right? Within 10 kilometers it's called troposphere, and then you have a stratosphere, and then you have a mesosphere, and then you have ionosphere and other things. As you go high, the temperature takes a shape like that. As you go until about 25 kilometers, temperature drops. But then again, temperature rises. And here at about 50 kilometers is the temperature that is very similar temperature to that of the Earth's surface, what we have here. And at this level, what is the stratosphere level, as you can see here, there is something called ozone layer. And what does this ozone layer do? How do they form? So in a very simple chemistry, if you just look at it, that we have oxygen here on this planet. An oxygen molecule absorbs the solar radiation. And this solar radiation will break the oxygen bond of O2 gas, and they form oxygen atom. So in the first step, they form oxygen atom, and in the second step, one oxygen molecule takes up this oxygen atom and they form ozone molecule. So the solar radiation does this work, and this ozone layer makes a cloud in stratosphere. What for? For the purpose of protecting us from ultraviolet radiation. So how it works? In ultraviolet radiation, ozone breaks again to form oxygen molecule and oxygen atom, O2 plus O, and these two O's then again binds to form O2. So what is happening? There is a subtle, nice balance that oxygen is forming, oxygen is again forming ozone, ozone is breaking to oxygen, and this process continues. So that means it's a very nice balance of keeping the ozone layer which protects us from serious effect of ultraviolet radiation from sun. Now if that chemistry goes fine, we live like as if we have an umbrella on top of us. And like in summer days, we have an umbrella over our head. So this ozone layer protects us just like an umbrella so that we live here happy. Otherwise, everything would have been flat or flat. Now what happens to CFC? What does it go there and what does it do? If it breaks, it's fine. No, it's not fine. It created imbalance in this oxygen-ozone balance. How it does? So Molina and Rowland, they showed us that not only that ozone molecule is broken, but along with that, the chlorine atoms that actually comes out from so if you just look at it here, this chlorine atom comes from the chlorofluorocarbon, they react with ozone, and then they form chlorine oxide. And this chlorine oxide acts as a catalyst. You know what catalyst means. The catalyst's role is to accelerate a reaction. And this is not only a catalyst, this is called autocatalyst. Means one of the product of the reaction becomes the catalyst for the rest of the reaction. Here ClO is the product in the first step, now acts as a catalyst where this step becomes very fast. Now what is happening? We started with the chlorine atom, it is depleting ozone to oxygen, and then the ClO again coming back to chlorine atom. So chlorine atom is not going anywhere. It is continuously depleting. So the overall reaction, this particular reaction eventually upset the balance between ozone and oxygen molecule. And therefore, chlorine atom helps or accelerates the breakup of ozone but have no effect on making ozone. So it destroys ozone but it has no effect on making ozone. And that is the problem. How do we know that really this chemistry happens? It was their proposal. So scientific community was not accepting this fact because you have to have hard evidence. So what they did, the geologist, atmospheric chemist, another gentleman, along with them, they started working in the South Pole and North Pole to check whether there is any kind of problem in this ozone layer. And they found there is something called ozone hole where people don't live there, right? They don't use spray cans there. They don't use any CFC there. How come they go to place like Antarctica or in North Pole where nobody lives? Which means this problem of depleting ozone layer is not a problem that I use it here, it will create problem in India or in Kolkata. No, it's a global problem. So science is always for global purpose, but scientific. The problem sometimes that a particular development, if at all it creates, it also becomes a global problem. So they found there is an ozone hole in 1985. And in 1987, an experimentally, a supersonic research plane, they actually found where they tested that ClO monoxide, that means chlorine monoxide, this molecule was detected in that region, which means now you have a direct experimental evidence that indeed they originate from chlorofluorocarbons which are present in the stratosphere and depleting the ozone layer. This experimental verification eventually established the hypothesis given by Rowland and Molina, and their theory got finally accepted, and they were awarded the 1995 Nobel Prize in Chemistry because of this discovery, so that people become serious about the side effects of this chlorofluorocarbon. And in 1987, just immediately after they found chlorine monoxide, before they were awarded Nobel Prize, in 1987, all the countries from different parts of the world were asked to come in a place in Canada called Montreal, and they were asked that this is going to be a threat for humankind, so we have to do something. So politicians, this attracted the attention of politicians, the lawmakers, and they said we have to do something. So let us start the use of chlorofluorocarbon, and those countries which will sign in this protocol, this is called a Montreal Protocol signatories. India is one of the countries who signed in this protocol. So obviously, it is the responsibility of all of us to be careful about this and to phase out the use of chlorofluorocarbon, or eventually the ban that came eventually become banned. So eventually you know that today we are not completely using the chlorofluorocarbons, but in some version of hydrocarbons with chlorine containing compounds with some hydrogen, we are still using the refrigerators. Obviously, less chlorine, more fluorine, and number of hydrogens we incorporate into that hydrocarbon, and what we make today are the hydrofluorocarbons, and we don't know whether they have any bad effect that the days will come where we'll make it dance. But still there are a lot in use in many other purposes, particularly, you know, in the something like in warfare. In some cases people use it also for what do you call this, rockets and other things. They still use those things. So even in spite of the fact that everybody signed in, many countries signed in Montreal Protocol, they are not following this. So this effect of this once lauded molecule, we still do not feel its effect, but we'll feel it, our future generations will feel it in the years to come. But then people knew that chlorine is a bad thing. but still we use it, as I said. Every moment, we recently had this bad experience with COVID-19. Every time we were using the bleaching powder, sodium hypochlorite, calcium hypochlorite, all these solutions we were using. Chlorine, knowingly that chlorine is dangerous, but there chlorine is in an ionic form, Cl minus, right? Because chlorine can accept electron. But chlorine is still poisonous in its gaseous form, or it is bonded in a molecule. And many of you probably know that the first thing that it is poisonous was first established by a gentleman called Fritz Haber. Many of you know who he is, right? He is the person who made ammonia from nitrogen. And today, the farmers are happy, people are getting food, billions of people are actually getting food because of artificial fertilizers, the synthetic fertilizers. Ammonia was produced from air. Air means nitrogen from air. So he is the person who told that, but unfortunately his discovery eventually led to use for other purposes, which is not good for human civilization. This compound, phosgene, which also carbon-chlorine bond, you know what this called? This phosgene was used. The chlorine gas and phosgenes were used in World War I just to keep a temporary blindness in soldiers so that they cannot see and they cannot attack. So many European, even chlorocarbons like this is also a chlorocarbon called mustard gas, which was used in World War I as well as subsequently in World War II also this was used. And Fritz Haber, it was not his fault, but he was also blamed that being a top-notch scientist, he could help Hitler and the Nazi party for giving them this kind of things. Now I'll get to another one, another kind of molecules. Do you want to hear from in Bangla? You are leaving? Okay. Okay, now I understand I should talk in Bangla. Alright, so in 5 minutes I will finish with another group of fluorocarbons. These are aromatic compounds. Like, these are called polychlorinated biphenyls. Forget about the structure, they are called PCBs. So here on this ring, if you put chlorine, these are called 2 phenyl rings are there, that's why they are called biphenyl. And if you put chlorine atoms on that, you can have multiple combinations, and those compounds are used in different purposes like electrical insulators, coolant for transformers. Still people use this in transformer cooling. Reactors, capacitors, circuit breakers, and many other places, because they are extremely stable compounds. They can withstand very high temperature, and also they are not flammable. And all these properties also make them a good use as plasticizer, because we use plastics and people use that in plastic so that plastic becomes flexible. So they are used, these biphenyls, for that different polymeric purposes. Moreover, the chlorine containing compounds were used as pesticide. All of you know this is a structure which is called DDT, which is a pesticide. Because earlier days, a lot of pest used to destroy crops. So scientists developed this compound, dichloro, diphenyl, trichloroethane, and that's why this is called DDT. It was prepared long back in 1874, but its harmful effect was not realized until 1942. And not only that, it was used during the World War II. This DDT was used World War II just to spread, stop the spread of typhus and other larvae, that mosquito larvae, so that the soldiers can stay in places like in jungles and other places, and they can stay there without mosquito bite. But the problem started later on that the DDT is a bad compound. It's not soluble in water. It is not dissolved in water. Can you please stop? Do you have anything to ask? Alright. Question? So the DDT and their breakdown products, they are soluble in fat only. Now if some animal, think of the DDT is used as pesticide. So it will be on ground. Sometimes the grass or herbs, that cow or other animals, goat, they can take that grass, right? They chew it. They can sometimes take that compound. Now this DDT is not degradable. It's not easily degradable. So what will happen? It will stay in their body. Sometimes when this animal dies, what happens? You will put it somewhere, the dead animal. Now who are the top of the food chain? The vultures, eagles, they stay on top of the food chain. They go and eat, the vultures eat their body, right? Now today we know that why we don't see so many vultures today. The reason is DDT. The DDT killed them. So in birds, the problem, why there is a problem in birds? Because in birds the breakdown product of DDT inhibits an enzyme in their body, which the role of enzyme is to provide enough calcium so that the egg shell, the surface of the egg becomes strong. That means the calcium releasing protein is blocked. So this compound goes and blocks that protein and calcium is not released, and therefore what will happen? The egg will not form. If the egg doesn't form, they cannot hatch, and therefore you will not have any newborn birds, particularly those who are on the top of the food chain. So now you understand why, because of the effect of DDT, we don't see nowadays all these eagles and vultures. If you want to know more, please note this. This is a very interesting book. You can get it in the internet. A free PDF version. I don't know whether it's a copyright violation or not, but you must read this book, Silent Spring by Rachel Carson. This talks about all sorts of side effects of DDT. This is called Silent Spring. A famous book. Other PCBs like these 2,4-D and 2,4,5-T, these are some compounds. They are not very toxic, but their combination were used during Vietnam War. When America went to Vietnam, they are actually what? Their role is, they are also herbicide. That means they put it on herbs to destroy those herbs. And how guerrilla warfare takes place? The guerrillas, they just hide themselves behind a tree or the shrubs or small plants, and as a result, what will happen? Nobody will be able to see. So American soldiers, they used to spray these two chemicals so these herbs cannot grow, and they can see the guerrilla, and then they can fire. So America took a lot of these toxic chlorinated compounds to Vietnam. And still there are birth defects and genetic defects because of that in a large part of Vietnam. So one can imagine that this discovery, those people who did it, they never thought that they will be utilized for that purpose. The problem is that these two compounds are not very bad, but when they decompose, it's really a bad compound. And they never degrade under normal conditions. And they have a lot of other problems. So in addition to that, in the 1950s, all these fancy products like talcum powders and also a lot of body spray and many other materials, shampoo and aftershave lotions. And one product that actually came that time, this is a germicide, which as if it kills the germ. So people used to start that and apply that on the body. It's again a chlorinated compound called hexachlorophene, because you can see there are 6 chlorine, that's why it's called hexachlor. But the problem is that in 1972, a test was conducted on this, and they found that this eventually led to brain and nervous system damage. And eventually, in a laboratory animal scale, and after that discovery, this compound was banned, that nobody can use this in products that baby, normally for babies. For baby products, this particular compound use was banned. But still, in some of the products, the cheaper form of deodorant or aftershaves or shampoos, still they use this compound. Many industries, they use it. The last part, the chlorine compound used is in anesthesia, in medical surgery. You know that until mid-1800s, when surgeons used to operate, they never used any anesthesia. So you can imagine how painful the surgery could be. Sometimes, for some person, they used to administer alcohol, so that they become drunk and will not feel anything, and this way they used to do operation. But in around 1846, a doctor in Britain, he was a Scottish doctor, practiced in London, he successfully tested the use of ether, diethyl ether, as a temporary unconsciousness during surgical procedure. And he was a person who used to do, test many different compounds. He could first realize that, it's so inhuman. Cutting somebody, doing operation without applying anything, people are crying, screaming. Very also, it's very difficult for surgeons to concentrate. So he started thinking that how we can use many different compounds. And he found ether just by applying on his family members. He used this on himself. And also people who invited for dinner party, he applied on everybody. And he realized that this is really a great compound, diethyl ether, and eventually the ether's ability, he could convince that ether ability was really, applied to do painless surgery, and that was used in anesthetic properties. But soon, another gentleman came into picture. This gentleman, Sir James M. Simpson, another British doctor, who first used chloroform as anesthetic in 1847. And then he published his work, people came to know about it. Queen Victoria also became convinced, and Queen Victoria decided that she would do her surgery during the delivery of her 8th baby through this process. So that's why this became so famous, because Victoria was given this anesthesia during the birth of Prince Philip. So eventually chloroform turns out to be villain again, because it's a chlorine-containing compound. The same problem. So all the blessings with surgical patients and medical profession also they turn over dark side, because if you administer it directly to the body, the problem is that it can cause liver and kidney damage, and its high exposure can lead to cancer. So these are the problems, and it can damage also the cornea, the skin, and also fatigue, nausea, irregular heartbeats. All these problems take place. So doctors realize that no, this cannot be used anymore. And eventually, almost after 40 years of use of chloroform, slowly this was banned, and now today we use very different kind of anesthesia for that purpose. So what I will tell you at the end, that chlorocarbons deserves the role of villain, if you say so. But perhaps that level of villain would better be applied to those who have knowingly disposed these compounds, chlorofluorocarbons, chlorichlorobiphenyls in rivers. Those who argued against the banning of CFCs, because if there is a policy, always you will find people with a banner and go, no, no, no. So even during this ban of CFCs, there were a lot of people, mostly supported by big corporates. They went out on the road. I think they are the villains who actually went out and say that, okay, these are good. No, they are not good. So the effect of ozone layer eventually realized, and those who indiscriminately applied pesticides in land and water without assessing how much you need. Very qualitative application. Farmers also sometimes do not know how much they need to use. They just use it. So properly they should be trained so that they know how much they should be used. And also particularly the big corporates and factories who make profit out of it. We use a large number of chlorine-containing compounds every day, but they are not bad. All of them have some way or others, they are good. because they are not poisonous, they do not destroy the ozone layer, they are not harmful to the environment, they are not carcinogenic, and they have never been used in gas warfare. Do we call them villain? No, they are not. Only a few of chlorine-containing carbon compounds, they create problems, and obviously we have to go for non-contaminants. So what I wanted to tell you is that some, in the process of development, shared the community, created history, and not only created history, it also gives shape of the history of human civilization. So what I will talk about that, those who have done the most harm or have the potential to do the most harm seem also to have been the very ones responsible for some of the most beneficial advances in us. This is how it is. From refrigerator to air conditioning, from anesthesia to insect-borne, eliminating insect-borne disease. Therefore, the positive impact of these compounds cannot be discounted. So how it is not a one-word answer, Ashirwad Naudisha, it's not like that. And one cannot do this. Science never started with the purpose of doing destruction. Science goes the way it is. Scientists work silently in the lab without really thinking what will come tomorrow. If it happens so that some bad effect comes in, we have to think about it. That's why science will progress. And then we come up with an alternatives. And this is the way science will go. So to end my talk, the quest of knowing the unknown and the discovery of the hidden treasure of knowledge through scientific investigations will continue for ages to come, and the young people, young generation scientists, young minds should participate in scientific discoveries for the welfare of human civilization. So with this, I will end by showing that most of the, the one that I covered today is actually taken from this book. And some internet sources. It is not something that I created anything. Everything is there in the internet today. I just put together in the form of a story. So this book is a very interesting book. The name of that book is The Napoleon's Battles. It's a very kind of a philosophical way of placing it, a sarcastic way of placing it, but actually it is on how 17 molecules change the history. It is not the history of development of science, but it is how chemistry changed the world. And this is a very interesting book. You will find it in the internet as well. This was published in 2004. You will find 17 different molecules and their development story and how they changed the course of history. So you should, if you are interested, you can go through it. And with this, I thank you for your attention, and I'll be very happy to take up questions and comments. So, how was it? Golpo Kaku Rasuk? It seems to me was an question. Okay, if not, thanks a lot.
Hello.
Thank you, sir, for the enlightening lecture. Now we have a quiz competition for the school students. Students, I request you, when an event is going on, please try to stay. When there is a break for 2-3 minutes, at that point of time, you go out. This is a request, okay? The quiz will be conducted by the Research Scholar Association of IACS. It will be conducted by 2 of our students, Anirban Ghosh and Devashrija Mondal. Anirban and Devashrija, please come and take the seat. volunteer হিসেবে আছে তাদেরকে একটু রিকোয়েস্ট করবো যে অডিয়েন্সে চলে আসতে and we'll begin very soon.
Okay, so good morning everyone. I am Oliver
and I am Devushija,
the host and host for this session. Okay, so
before we begin, I would like to tell you guys about some of the rules that will hold for today's quiz. Firstly, no googling please. Please keep your phones either switched off or just, we do not want to see the phones in your hands while the quiz is going on, because if you are found engaging in any sort of malpractices, then you will not be allowed to answer for the rest of the quiz. And also we will read the questions out on the screen, of course, and English and Bengali dutotei bola hobe, so if you guys have a problem with any one of the languages, you don't need to worry. ঠিক আছে, তাহলে শুরু করা যাক। সবাই রেডি তো? আচ্ছা, আরেকটা কথা, যারা কারেক্ট আনসার দেবে, লাইক if you want to answer, হাত তুলবে, and if you give the correct answer, please also mention your name and your school. And প্রত্যেকটা কোয়েশ্চেন বলে দেওয়ার পর 30 seconds করে টাইম থাকবে ফর আনসারিং। তার মধ্যে যদি কেউ উত্তর দেয় তো প্লিজ রেজ ইওর হ্যান্ডস। জোরে জোরে উত্তরটা প্লিজ বলে দেবে না।
সবাই কি এসে গেছে?
রুলসটা এবার বলে দেন।
হ্যাঁ, তো রুলস এর মধ্যে যেটা বলার সেটা হচ্ছে স্লাইডে কোয়েশ্চেন আসবে, আমরা ইংলিশ বাংলা দুটোই বলে দেবো, তারপরে 30 সেকেন্ডস টাইম থাকবে উত্তর দেওয়ার জন্য। আর কুইজ চলাকালীন কারোর হাতে যেন ফোন না দেখা যায়, কারণ যদি আমরা বুঝতে পারি যে তোমরা কোনো রকম ভাবে আনসার গুগল করার চেষ্টা করছো বা ওরকম কিছু করছো, দেন তোমাদেরকে আর উত্তর দিতে দেওয়া হবে না ফর দ্য রেস্ট অফ দ্য কুইজ। আর যদি উত্তর দেওয়ার থাকে তো হাত তুলবে, এবং যদি উত্তর ঠিক হয় তাহলে নিজের নাম আর স্কুলটাও বলবে।
স্টার্ট করা যাবে। আচ্ছা, তো
Okay, so the theme for 1999 was Art Changing Earth, 2005 Celebrating Physics, 2008 Understanding the Planet Earth, 2017 Science and Technology for Specially Abled Persons, and 2020 Women in Science. So which scientist gets credit for the celebration of an important occasion? The themes for which are given above.
আচ্ছা, এখানে কয়েকটা সাল দেওয়া আছে, যেমন প্রথম থেকে 1999, সেখানে আওয়ার চেঞ্জিং আর্থ, এটা একটা পার্টিকুলার কোনো একটা ইভেন্টের থিম। তারপরে 2005 সেলিব্রেটিং ফিজিক্স, 2008 আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ডিং দ্য প্ল্যানেট আর্থ, 2017 সায়েন্স অ্যান্ড টেকনোলজি ফর দ্য স্পেশালি এবেলড পারসন, অ্যান্ড লেটেস্ট যেটা 2020 সেটা হচ্ছে যে ওমেন ইন সায়েন্স। তো তোমাদেরকে বলতে হবে যে এই প্রতিটা ইয়ার মানে প্রতিটা থিমের সাথে একজন পার্টিকুলার সায়েন্টিস্ট কানেক্টেড, তিনি কে?
সবকটার সাথে একজনই সায়েন্টিস্ট কানেক্টেড। আর এই পাঁচটা যে ইয়ার দেওয়া আছে সেটা মানে এই ডেটা যে সেলিব্রেশন হয় সেটা এই সায়েন্টিস্টের জন্যই হয়। তো কেউ কি বলতে চায়? It's a very big day for science in India. কেউ হাত তুলছে?
মহেন্দ্রলাল সরকার?
না।
হ্যাঁ, সিভি রহমান ইজ দ্য কারেক্ট আনসার। তোমার নাম আর স্কুলটা বলো প্লিজ।
নাম সৌমিতা আর স্কুল যাদবপুর।
So theme gulo for the celebration of National Science Day. In fact, আজকেও National Science Day, তো তোমরা নিশ্চয়ই জানো। So okay, moving on to question number 2. This Google Doodle appeared on January 22, 2016 to celebrate the 151st birthday of an American pharmacist. So look at this doodle and tell me which scale he had devised or what the scale measures.
এখানে একটা গুগল ডুডল দেওয়া আছে, তো তোমাদেরকে যেটা বলতে হবে যে এই গুগল ডুডলে একজন সায়েন্টিস্ট দেওয়া আছে, তিনি একটা স্কেল তৈরি করেছিলেন। তো তোমরা বলো যে এই স্কেলটা কিসের স্কেল, অথবা যদি সায়েন্টিস্টের নাম বলতে পারো।
বাংলায় উত্তর দিতে চাইলেও প্রবলেম নেই, বলতে পারো। ইনফ্যাক্ট দুটোর মধ্যে যে কোনো একটা বলতে পারলেই হবে।
Sir, Isaac Newton.
No. He is a pharmacist. So
রিকোয়েস্ট করবো আপনার পিছনে একটা হাত উঠেছে। কেলভিন না,
আমরা একটু স্কেলটা বলার চেষ্টা করব যে কি স্কেল উনি দিয়েছেন, সেটা কিন্তু রিলেটেড টু সামথিং সাম ফুড অর সাম কিছু
pioneer scale.
না, স্কেলের নামটা যদি নাও বলতে পারো, মানে স্কেলটা কিসের জন্য ইউজ হয় সেটা বললেও হবে। আর দাদা যেটা বললো স্কেলটা কোনো একটা খাওয়া দাওয়ার একটা জিনিসের সাথে রিলেটেড। ভালো করে ছবিটা দেখো, তোমরা কি ছবিটা দেখতে পাচ্ছ না?
ছবিটা দেখা যাচ্ছে?
And used for intensity for the taste of chili.
Yes, that's absolutely correct.
আমার শুনতে একটু বলুন না, আমার শুনতে একটু বলুন।
मैं वार्डन मंडल যাদবপুর বিদ্যালয়।
এটা জোরে আছে। আচ্ছা সবাই যখন আনসারটা বলবে একটু নাম আর আনসার, নাম আর তোমার স্কুলের নামটা একটু বলবে।
ওকে, সো স্কেলটার নাম ছিল স্কোভিল স্কেল। তো লঙ্কার ঝাল মেজার করার জন্য ইউজ হয়, অ্যাজ হি কারেক্টলি সেড। নেক্সট কোয়েশ্চেন। সো অ্যারেঞ্জ দ্য ফলোইং ইভেন্টস ইন ক্রোনোলজিক্যাল অর্ডার, মানে যেটা সব থেকে আগে হয়েছিল সেটা আগে বলতে হবে, ঠিক আছে? তো ডেথ অফ শ্রীনিবাস রামানুজন, তো হি ডাইড when he was just 32. The Jallianwala Bagh massacre, the Nobel Prize of Dr. C.V. Raman, যেটার 93 years হচ্ছে in 2023. Our capital of India shifted from Kolkata to Delhi under the British Raj.
এখানে চারটে ইভেন্ট আছে, সেই চারটে ইভেন্টে তোমরা অ্যাকর্ডিংলি বলবে, মানে ইয়ার ওয়াইজ। তো প্রথমটা হচ্ছে যে শ্রীনিবাস রামানুজন ভারতবর্ষের বিখ্যাত একজন ম্যাথমেটিশিয়ান। তো তার মৃত্যু হয়েছিল মাত্র 32 বছর বয়সে। তারপর যেটা সবাই জানো সে জালিয়ানওয়ালা বাগের হত্যাকাণ্ড। তারপর আছে যে স্যার সিভি রমন, তিনি নোবেল প্রাইজ পেয়েছিলেন 1930-তে। এটুকু একটা ক্লু দিলাম। তো আর বাকিটা হচ্ছে যে কলকাতা থেকে দিল্লি যখন ক্যাপিটালকে শিফট করা হয়েছিল। তোমরা
4312. Four capital of India shifted from Kolkata to Delhi, then Nobel Prize of Dr. C.V. Raman, then death of Srinivasa Ramanujan, and then Jallianwala.
You are partly correct. So, আর কেউ যদি উত্তর দিতে চায়, একজন হাত তুলছে।
Capital of India shifted from Kolkata to Delhi under British Raj. Jallianwala, তারপরে নোবেল প্রাইজ অফ সিভি রমন, ডেথ অফ সিভি রমন।
আচ্ছা তুমি বোধহয় মানে আগের প্রথম থেকে বলছো, সব থেকে পিছনের সালটা আগে বলছো, এরকম একটা। আরেকবার বলো তুমি।
আচ্ছা, ওল্ডেস্টটা তো ক্যাপিটাল অফ ইন্ডিয়া শিফটেড ফ্রম কলকাতা আন্ডার দিল্লি ব্রিটিশ রাজ।
হ্যাঁ প্রথমটা।
তারপরে জালিয়ানওয়ালা,
ওকে।
তারপরে নোবেল প্রাইজ অফ সিভি রমন, তারপরে সিলভের
সালগুলো একটু বলতে পারবে কোনটা?
আর তারপর জালিয়ানওয়ালা 1913।
জালিয়ানওয়ালা 1913 না।
না সালগুলো
ঠিক আছে, সালগুলো বলতে হবে, বাট জাস্ট একটা সাল এদিক ওদিক হয়েছে, বাট দেন আমরা প্রাইসে দিয়ে দিতে পারি।
হ্যাঁ তোমার
হি ইজ মোরালেস কারেক্ট। তো
আমার মনে হয় প্রিসাইজলি যদি কেউ এইগুলো বলে সালগুলো একটু বলতে পারে।
The first capital of India shifted from Kolkata to Delhi under British Raj, and second Jallianwala Bagh হত্যাকাণ্ড, third Nobel Prize of Dr. C.V. Raman, and fourth the death of Srinivas Ramanujan.
আগের জন তো একই ছিল, সেটা আমরা বলেছিলাম মোস্টলি কারেক্ট। কেউ যদি সম্পূর্ণ কারেক্ট উত্তরটা আমাদেরকে দিতে পারে। একজন হাত তুলেছে সামনে।
4132।
না, 4132
capital of India shifted from Kolkata to Delhi under British Raj. Jallianwala massacre, death of Srinivasan Ramanujan, then Nobel Prize of Dr. C.V. Raman, 1930.
Correct answer.
Yes, that is the correct answer. Please tell us your name and your school.
Joyce Roy, Rashmi Balka Vidyalaya. Joyce Roy, Rashmi Balka Vidyalaya.
এটা জোরে আমাকে বলুন। আমি তুমি আগে কি বলতে পারবে যে
Nobel Prize Dr. C.V. Raman, 1930. 8th of Srinivasan Ramanujan ঠিক মনে পড়ছে না।
আচ্ছা জালিয়ানওয়ালাবাগের মাসাকার যেটা
না ওটা 1913 এর কাছাকাছি যেতে পারে
1913
হতে পারে।
আচ্ছা আমি বলে দিচ্ছি তো ফার্স্ট হচ্ছে ক্যাপিটাল যখন শিফট করা হয়েছিল সেটা হচ্ছে 1911 তারপর জালিয়ানওয়ালাবাগ ম্যাসাকার যেটা হয়েছিল সেটা হচ্ছে 1990 ডেট অফ শ্রীনিবাসন রামানুজন সেটা হচ্ছে 1920 আর তারপর হচ্ছে সিভি রামন যে নোবেল প্রাইজ 1930।
Okay, next question, Javna. So we will show you a photograph that was taken at the Solvay conference in 1927. There are 29 people in the picture and later 17 of them have gone on to win the Nobel Prize. So this was also dubbed the most intelligent photo ever taken. So can you name any 5 scientists in the photo? You don't have to identify who is who, just tell us 5 names. Okay. Please do not discuss answers loudly. Jodi bolar theke hath deo, please.
Albert Einstein.
Okay.
একদম কি বলবো ওটা অ্যালবার্ট আইনস্টাইনের পিছন দিকে বাড়িয়ে যে আছে
নামটাই বলতে হতো। ঠিক আছে, আর কেউ কি ট্রাই করতে চায়?
আচ্ছা একজন ফিমেল সায়েন্টিস্ট দেখা যাচ্ছে ঠিক আছে তার নামটা কিন্তু তার নামটা একটা ক্লু হতে পারে।
এই 29 জনের মধ্যে একজনই মহিলা সায়েন্টিস্ট আছে, তো সেটাকে আচ্ছা
মাদাম মেরি কুরি।
হ্যাঁ মানে একজন
আর বলতে পারবে?
আলবার্ট আইনস্টাইন আছেন, মার্কস প্ল্যাঙ্ক আছেন,
আর খুব কাছাকাছি আরো
ম্যাডাম কুরি, আলবার্ট আইনস্টাইন, আর্নেস্ট রাদারফোর্ড,
Madam Curie, Albert Einstein, J. Thomson, John Dalton, and Ernest Rutherford. Rutherford বলেছি
না, হলো না। আর কি ট্রাই করতে চাই? আচ্ছা, 3টে নাম তো আমরা অলরেডি পেয়েই গেছি, তো আরেকটা কি কেউ বলতে পারবে? আদারওয়াইজ যে 3টে নাম কারেক্ট বলেছে তাকে আমরা প্রাইজে দেব। যদি প্রশ্ন হলে কোনো লাভ হবে না, নিজেরা একটু ছবিটা দেখো, গেস করার চেষ্টা করো। পিছনে একটা হাত উঠেছে, একজনও ইন্ডিয়ান সায়েন্টিস্ট নেই, আর যারা জিজ্ঞেস করছে যে রাদারফোর্ড আছেন কিনা, না উনিও নেই।
আচ্ছা এখানে একজন এমন আছেন তো যে হচ্ছে যে সবচাইতে মানে সবচাইতে কনিষ্ঠতম নোবেল প্রাইজ উইনার হয়েছিলেন সায়েন্সে। তো সেটা একটা কি হতে পারে?
Madam Curie, J.D. Wilson, Albert Einstein, J.J. Thomson. will.
না আর কি ট্রাই করতে চাই?
Einstein, Madame Curie, J.J. Thomson, Rutherford, Heisenberg. Heisenberg.
J.J. Thomson.
আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, আমরা তাহলে আর উত্তর নেব না। যে তিনটে কারেক্ট বলেছিলে তুমি, আই থিঙ্ক আমরা
Preeti Das, Tadapur District.
আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, এবার 29। আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, মানে একটু বলে দিই কে কে আছে। একদম ফ্রন্ট রোতে বাঁদিক থেকে শুরু করছি। ল্যাংমার, ম্যাক্স প্ল্যাঙ্ক, ম্যারি কিউরি, হেনরিক লরেন্স, অ্যালবার্ট আইনস্টাইন, ল্যাঞ্জোভিল, চার্লস ইউজিন, সিপিআর উইলসন অ্যান্ড রিচার্ডসন। মাঝের রোতে বাঁদিক থেকে ডিবাই, মার্লেন নালসন, লরেন্স ব্র্যাগ, যিনি
আমি ক্লু দিলাম যেটা সবচেয়ে
আচ্ছা উনি আরো একটি রেকর্ড সৃষ্টি করেছিলেন যেটা রিসেন্টলি ভাঙা হয়েছে। যাই হোক, অ্যান্থনি ক্র্যামার্স, পল ডিরাক, কম্পটন, ডি ব্রগলি, ম্যাক্স বর্ন, নিলস বোর। আর একদম পিছনের রোতে অগস্ট পিকার্ড, আর্নেস্ট হার্নস, এরেন ফেস,
Herzen, Donder, Schrödinger, Wersfeld, Pauli, Heisenberg, Ralph Fowler, and Bill. একদম পিছন।
আচ্ছা, যে হচ্ছে আমাদেরকে হাইজেনবার্গ বলেছিল তাদের মানে তাকে একটা জাস্ট কথা বলার যে মানে তুমি যেহেতু কিছু ভুল নামও বলেছিলে তাই জন্য আমরা তোমাকে কনসিডার করলাম। ঠিক আছে, পরের কোশ্চেনে যাই। I am an Indian pediatrician. আচ্ছা, আরেকটা কথা মানে কোয়েশ্চেনটা পড়ার আগে বলে নিই, প্রত্যেকটা স্লাইডের টাইটেল এবং অন্য কোনো কালারে যদি কোনো ওয়ার্ড বা ফ্রেজ লেখা থাকে সেগুলোকে ভালো করে লক্ষ্য করবে, কারণ সেগুলো ক্লু। ঠিক আছে। I am an Indian pediatrician born in 1934, though my birthplace is now in Bangladesh. I work extensively on diarrheal diseases at the Infectious Diseases Hospital, Beliaghata. Next group.
আচ্ছা, প্রথম ছিল যে আমি একজনের কথা এখানে বলা হচ্ছে, তো তিনি হচ্ছেন যে শিশু রোগ বিশেষজ্ঞ ছিলেন। তিনি আমাদের যে বেলেঘাটাতে একটা যেটা এখন হচ্ছে বেলেঘাটা আইডি হসপিটাল, তো তিনি সেখানে দীর্ঘদিন ধরে রিসার্চ করেছেন। এটা হচ্ছে ফার্স্ট ক্লু ছিল।
Second clue, I combated cholera outbreaks in refugee camps during the Bangladesh Liberation War of 1971.
নীলরতন সরকার?
না, নীলরতন সরকার নয়। Next হতে যাই। I passed away in Kolkata at age 87 on October 15, 2022, and on our 74th Republic Day, the Government of India posthumously awarded me the Padma Bhushan.
আচ্ছা, উনি খুব রিসেন্টলি মারা গেছেন অ্যাকচুয়ালি। তো ওনারা মারা যাবার পর
বিক্রম সারাভাই?
না, বিক্রম সারাভাই ঠিক না।
উনি রিসেন্টলি মারা গেছেন, তো ওনারা মারা যাবার পরে পদ্মবিভূষণ দেওয়া হয় আর কি। যারা একটু কারেন্ট নিউজ আর কি দেখো তারা হয়তো বুঝতে পারবে।
আচ্ছা, নেক্সট হতে যাই।
লাস্ট ভিউ।
In 1971, I saved countless lives by innovating a certain drink that was used extensively during the heavy outbreak of cholera and diarrheal diseases. So this drink was recognized by WHO in 1980. So who is this person or what is the drink? আমরা প্রেফার করব যে who is this person তে যদি তোমরা বলতে পারো, যদি ইন কেস না বলতে পারো তখন ড্রিঙ্কের নামটা বলে দিও।
ড্রিঙ্কের নামটা বলতে পারো। ওআরএস।
পুরো নামটা
ওরাল রিহাইড্রেশন সলিউশন।
আর মানে ওনার নামটা
এখন মনে করছি না।
আমার মনে হয় আমরা আরেক
হ্যাঁ, যদি কেউ নাম আর ড্রিঙ্ক দুটোই বলতে পারে তো ভালো, যদি না বলতে পারে তাহলে
আমরা প্রেফার করবো যে ওনার নামটা যে বলবো। ওনার মানে নাম, ওনার যে নামে যে সারনেম সেটা কানেক্টেড টু একজন ইন্ডিয়ান ম্যাথমেটিশিয়ান, খুব রিনোন একজন ইন্ডিয়ান ম্যাথমেটিশিয়ান, তার সাথে কানেক্টেড। তোমরা
যিনি আবার ISI এর সঙ্গে যুক্ত ছিল, মানে এই ম্যাথমেটিশিয়ান। যদি বলতে চান ঠিক আছে, তাহলে যে ওআরএস বলেছিল সে খুঁজে না, প্লিজ তোমার নাম আর শুনতে বলো।
অনেক পরে যাবে তার উপর যাবে।
হাততালি হয়ে যাক।
আচ্ছা, ওনার নামটা হচ্ছে দিলীপ মহারানী।
ডক্টর দিলীপ মহানবী
খুব রিসেন্টলি মারা গেছে।
ওআরএস বলেছিল না।
আচ্ছা, আমি ভলেন্টিয়ারদের বলবো যে যারা একবার আনসার দিয়েছে তো প্রেফার করো যে যারা একবার আনসার দেয়নি তাদেরকে।
ঠিক আছে, নেক্সট কোয়েশ্চন চলে যায়। Theobromine is a compound which is a byproduct of caffeine breakdown. It is used in many cases, including in cases of asthma and high blood pressure, where it dilates your blood vessels. But unlike humans, dogs cannot metabolize theobromine very fast, and so it's often deadly for them. So which commonly enjoyed food cannot be given to dogs as it contains a good amount of theobromine. Acha,
chocolate.
That's absolutely the correct answer. তোমার নাম আর স্কুলটা বলো।
এটা জোরে হাত দিলে হতো না।
ঠিক আছে, নেক্সট কোয়েশ্চনে চলে যাই। If the mirror image of a clock without numbers marked shows 9:35, what is the actual time? ওই ডায়ালের ঘড়িতে যদি 9:35 দেখা যায় তাহলে অ্যাকচুয়াল টাইম কত? তুমি অলরেডি একবার উত্তর দিয়েছো। আর কেউ?
একজন তো দিয়ে দেখি। ওকে, 21:30 কত? 21:30 না,
যে ওই নর্মাল যে দেওয়াল ঘড়িগুলো হয়, ডিজিটাল ঘড়ির কথা কিন্তু আমরা বলছি। 6:25
না, একটু 3:25 3:25 না, খুব কাছাকাছি আছে।
3:25
না, 3:25 নয়,
2:25
2:25 is the correct answer. তোমার নাম আর স্কুলটা একটু বলো।
রাজিতে পাল দাদা কোন যাবে?
হাততালি হয়ে যাওয়ার জন্য। ঠিক আছে, পরের কোয়েশ্চেন চলে যাই। আচ্ছা, আবার একটা who am I question. So I am an Indian doctor and scientist whose life was cut short because of extreme harassment due to the nature of my work and the associated taboo.
আচ্ছা, আমি একজন ডাক্তার এবং তার সঙ্গে একজন বিজ্ঞানী যার জীবন হঠাৎ করে থেমে গেছিল কোন একটা ঘটনার জন্য।
I am associated with the birth of a baby named Kanupriya Agarwal or Durga.
Dr. Subhash Mukherjee.
Dr. Subhash Mukhopadhyay is the correct answer. তোমার নাম আর স্কুলটা বলো।
অলিম্পিকা মন্ডল, রাসমণি বালিকা বিদ্যালয়।
সুপার কুইজিং ওর জন্য একটা দিয়ে দেবো। ঠিক আছে, বাকি ক্লুগুলো আমরা একটু দেখে নিই। I received recognition for my work 5 years after my death as the first doctor in India to have performed a certain procedure now important for assisted reproduction, a process of IVF. And Tapan Sinha directed a movie named Ek Doctor Ki Maut, loosely based on my life. And the answer is Dr. Subhash Mukhopadhyay. ठीक है, next question. So Van Hoff got it for chemistry for his work on osmotic pressure. Stanley Prudhomme got it for literature for his rare combination of the qualities of both heart and intellect. Henry Dunant and Frederick Passy got it for peace because Dunant was the founder of the Red Cross and Passy worked as a pacifist. Somebody got it for physics for his discovery of X-rays, and Emil von Behring got it for medicine for the development of anti-diphtheria and anti-tetanus serum. So fill in the blank and then tell me what connects the awardees in this list.
Sir, Rongen.
Connection ta bolo jodi bolte paro.
Rongen.
আচ্ছা, কানেকশনটা কি কেউ বলতে পারবে? কানেকশনটা বলতে হবে, নাম আর কানেকশন দুটোই বলতে হবে, কারণ নামটা অনেকেই জানে, কানেকশনটা বলতে হবে। হ্যাঁ, মানে তুমি উত্তরটা ঠিকই দিয়েছো, জাস্ট জেনারেলাইজ করে দাও সবার জন্য।
Wilhelm Röntgen, তিনি ফার্স্ট নোবেল প্রাইজ ইন ফিজিক্স পেয়েছিলেন।
ঠিক আছে, এবার মানে বেসিক্যালি আমরা
এক্স-রে রেডিয়েশনের জন্য।
হ্যাঁ, না ঠিক আছে, তোমার উত্তর ঠিক আছে। তুমি নামটা বলো আর
আমার স্কুলটা একটু বলো।
সমর্পিতা নন্দী, যাদবপুর বিদ্যালয়।
আচ্ছা, মানে আমরা যে উত্তরটা বেসিক্যালি খুঁজছিলাম সেটা হচ্ছে যে এনারা সবাই নিজেদের ফিল্ডে ফার্স্ট নোবেল প্রাইজ পেয়েছিল। ঠিক আছে, নেক্সট কোয়েশ্চেন। সো
I'm a colorless gaseous water soluble compound and I can behave both as an acid and a base. The first clue.
হাইড্রোজেন।
না, হাইড্রোজেন নয়। ঠিক আছে, আর কেউ বলতে চান নাকি পরে বলতে যাবো?
প্রথম clue হচ্ছে আমি একটা কালারলেস গ্যাস, খুব ইম্পর্টেন্ট, কালারলেস গ্যাস।
অ্যামোনিয়া।
আচ্ছা,
অ্যামোনিয়া ইজ ইনডিড দ্য কারেক্ট।
অ্যামোনিয়া ইজ দ্য কারেক্ট আনসার। তো এই অ্যামোনিয়া অ্যাসিড এবং বেস কি করে হচ্ছে একটু বলো। আচ্ছা, ঠিক আছে, আমরা নেক্সট
তোমার নাম আর স্কুলটা বলো, তুমি উত্তর ঠিকই দিয়েছো।
মন্দির রাসমণি বালিকা বিদ্যালয়।
আচ্ছা, নেক্সট রুল হচ্ছে যে despite having the commercial use nowadays, I was actually developed industrially for the World War I for a different purpose. And actually, ammonia প্রথম আবিষ্কার হয়েছিল World War I এর সময়। My inventor was often acknowledged as the father of chemical warfare. Owing to his work with me, he won 1918 Nobel Prize in Chemistry. আচ্ছা, ইনভেন্টর যিনি ছিলেন, তো তাকে actually father of chemical warfare in 1918 Nobel Prize পেয়েছিলেন। Although I am the major ingredient in explosives like TNT and RDA, I helped in the development of essential fertilizers like urea, which forms the way of the breeding process. মানে অর্থাৎ অ্যামোনিয়া, আরডিএক্স বা টিএনটি কিছু একটা কনস্টিটিউয়েন্ট হলেও ওটা মেজর একটা ইউজ হচ্ছে ইউরিয়াতে, যেটা এখন ফার্টিলাইজার হিসেবে ইউজ করা হয়।
Acha, so there are 3 pictures here, and you have to connect the 3 pictures and give me the name of an element which connects all of them. আচ্ছা, 3টে ছবি দেওয়া আছে, আর এই 3টে ছবির মধ্যে একটা মানে কানেকশন আছে যেটা একটা কমন এলিমেন্ট। তো এই এলিমেন্ট
কার্বন
না হলো না। আর কেউ? হ্যাঁ, মানে কেউ যদি কানেকশনটা মানে আমরা যে কানেকশনটা খুঁজছি সেটা মানে তোটা ঠিক না, তাহলে একটু বুঝিয়ে বলতে হবে। জোরে জোরে আনসার ডিসকাস করো না প্লিজ, যদি বলার থাকে হাত তোলো। না হলো না। পিছনে একটা হাত উঠেছে। না। আচ্ছা, এই মুভিটার নাম কেন? আচ্ছা, কেন সেটা তো বুঝিয়ে বলতে হবে। তুলিতে কোথা থেকে রেডিয়াম আসবে? বুঝিয়ে বলো, বুঝিয়ে বলো। আচ্ছা, কেউ কি পুরো কানেকশনটা আমাদেরকে বোঝাতে পারবে? আর কেউ কি ট্রাই করতে চায়? আচ্ছা, ঘড়ির সঙ্গে এখানে পেন ব্রাশের একটা কানেকশন আছে। আর আরেকটা কথা বলছি, সবকিছু ফ্যাক্টরিতে তৈরি হয় না। না হলো না। এই কথাটা একটা ক্লু, সবকিছু ফ্যাক্টরিতে তৈরি হয় না। ইনফ্যাক্ট সবকিছু মেশিনে তৈরি হয় না।
রেডিয়াম ঘড়ির রেডিয়াম আর তুলিটা যখন আগেকার দিনে ফ্যাক্টরিতে মেয়েরা রেডিয়াম নিয়ে একটা রেডিও অ্যাক্টিভ ঘটনা ঘটেছিল, বিপ্লব হয়েছিল, সেটাকে নিয়ে যখন দেশলাই কাঠিতে তৈরি হতো রেডিয়াম ইউজ হতো, আর সেজন্য শরীর খারাপ হতো, তাই জন্য রেডিয়াম গার্লস ওটা কানেকশনটা।
হ্যাঁ, রেডিয়াম গার্লসটা তুমি একদম ঠিক বলেছো। আচ্ছা, তোমার নামটা বলো, স্কুলটা বলো।
জয়শ্রী রায় রাসমণি বালিকা বিদ্যালয়।
সুপার কোয়েশ্চেন। আচ্ছা, মানে কানেকশনটা তুমি মোটামুটি ঠিক বলেছো, আমরা জাস্ট মানে আরেকটু ক্লারিফাই করে দিচ্ছি। তো মুভিটা বেসিক্যালি ইয়েস, মুভিটা রেডিয়াম গার্লস। বেসিক্যালি যেটা হতো সেটা হচ্ছে ঘড়ির ফ্যাক্টরিতে ওই রেডিয়ামের যে রেডিয়াম দিয়ে নাম্বারগুলো লেখা হতো যাতে অন্ধকারে দেখা যায়, এবং সেই কাজটা করা হতো পেন্ট ব্রাশ দিয়ে। তো সেটাই হচ্ছে বেসিক্যালি কানেকশন। ঠিক আছে, চলো নেক্সট কোয়েশ্চেন। I am an irrational number.
এটা একটা নাম্বার নিয়ে বলা হচ্ছে, ঠিক আছে? প্রথমটা হচ্ছে যে আমি একটা ইরাশনাল নাম্বার।
Although I am a number, but I am commonly represented as a Greek symbol.
Sir, 3.14.
হ্যাঁ, নাম্বারটা কি? একদম কারেক্ট, ভেরি গুড কোয়েশ্চেন। তোমার নাম্বার কোনটা বলো?
অঙ্কিতা ভৌমিক, ডাইরেক্টর বিজয়।
তো আমরা বাকি ক্লুগুলো একটু দেখে নিই। Larry Shaw started to celebrate me on March 14, that is 3/14. However, some people later argued that I should be celebrated on July 22, because July 22 is 22/7. So I have been defined as the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. And the answer is clearly 5. Okay, next question please. So is an evolutionary biologist and author. He was looking for a word to describe a unit of imitation of an idea across cultures and generations while writing the book, The Selfish Gene. So this is what he said on finding the word that he needed. Its word root is a Greek word, but I want a word that sounds like gene. So he shortened the word root to dash, this certain word that we are looking for, and it is pronounced to rhyme with cream. And also this word is very common in social media. The context is kind of similar but also not similar. So which word was he talking about?
Chromosome.
No, that's not the correct answer. So Richard Dawkins এই সেলফিশ জিন বইটা লেখার সময় এই ওয়ার্ডটার কথা বলেছিলেন, সেটা হচ্ছে অনুকরণের একটা মাত্রা, যেটা একটা যে কোনো আইডিয়াকে বিভিন্ন কালচার, বিভিন্ন প্রজন্মতে ক্যারি ফরওয়ার্ড করা হয়, মানে সেই আইডিয়াটা এগিয়ে যায়। এবং এই ওয়ার্ডটা বলার সময় উনি বলেছিলেন যে জিনের মতন শুনতে লাগবে কথাটা, কিন্তু যেহেতু ওটা একটা গ্রিক ওয়ার্ড থেকে এসেছিল, উনি ওটাকে অ্যাব্রিভিয়েট করেছিলেন, মানে ছোট করেছিলেন। ছোট করে এমন একটা ওয়ার্ড বানিয়েছিলেন যেটা আবার ক্রিমের মতন শুনতে লাগে। তো সোশ্যাল মিডিয়াতে এই ওয়ার্ডটা প্রায়শই শোনা যায়। তো এই ওয়ার্ডটা কি?
সোশ্যাল মিডিয়াতে এটা খুব অ্যাভেলেবল।
তুমি কি বললে আরেকবার বলো? না, ড্রিম নয়। না, ক্রিমের রাইমিং ওয়ার্ড আছে শুধু। স্ক্রিম না, মানে ওয়ার্ডটা যদি তোমরা সোশ্যাল মিডিয়াতে ইউজ করো, ফেসবুক, হোয়াটসঅ্যাপ, ইনস্টাগ্রাম, যা খুশি ইউজ করো, সেখানে তোমরা দেখতেই পাবে। এই ওয়ার্ডটা ইউজ তোমরা দেখতেই পাবে।
ওয়ার্ডটা জিনের খুব কাছাকাছি।
না, না,
স্ক্রিন
না,
জি
না,
ভাইরাল
না, জীব না, আচ্ছা লাস্ট দুটো গেস নেবো আমরা, তারপর যদি কেউ না আরেকবার বলো। গ্রিন না, না, আর কেউ? আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, দুটো গেস আমরা নেবো।
না, কেউ কারেক্ট আনসার।
ঠিক আছে, আনসার সাইডে চলে। আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, পরের কোয়েশ্চেন চলে যাই এবার। ওকে, সো আবার একটা ঘোরা নেই।
I'm an Indian mathematician who lived in the period of 598 to 668 C, which is contemporary to Chalukya Kingdom in modern Rajasthan province of India. না, আমরা আচ্ছা আচ্ছা এখানে হচ্ছে আমি একজন ম্যাথমেটিশিয়ান, যিনি হচ্ছে চালুক্য বংশ, তার সমসাময়িক। এখন ইন্ডিয়ার যে রাজস্থান, সেই সময় আমি জন্মগ্রহণ করি। নেক্সট ক্লু। না, শ্রীধর আচার্য। শ্রীধর না সেটা হচ্ছে না, খুব কাছাকাছি, তাও না। In 628C, I first described gravity as an attractive force. Gravity is an attractive force first. তার দ্বারা বলা হয় ভাস্করাচার্য না। Next clue. I have formulated the solution for a linear equation in certain forms. I am the pioneer of a way to calculate the area of a cyclic quadrilateral. Brahmagupta. Darun answer. Brahmagupta. যেটা বলা হলো যে লাস্ট টুটা দেখে নেবো একটু, সেটা হচ্ছে I'm the author of two famous books written in Sanskrit which contains my lifelong work, namely Brahma's Putra Siddhanta and Khandakakhya. আচ্ছা, যেটা কোয়েশ্চেন হচ্ছে যে যেটা বলা হচ্ছে সাইক্লিক কোয়াড্রিলেটারাল এরিয়া, যেটা ব্রহ্মপুত্রের সূত্র, সেটা কি? এটা খুব ইম্পর্টেন্ট অ্যাকচুয়ালি। বাকি কেউ কি বলতে পারবে? মানে যেটা আমরা অলমোস্ট সবাই জানি যে ব্রহ্মপুত্রের সূত্র হিসাবে, বা কেউ যদি বলে যে কোনো একটা ট্রায়াঙ্গেল যে কোনো ধরনের ABC তিনটে যদি ডিফারেন্ট আর্মস হয়, সেটাকে আমরা সেই ক্ষেত্রফল বার করার যে ফর্মুলা, সেটা হচ্ছে ব্রহ্মপুত্রের সূত্র। ঈশান বাবু ত্রিভুজের ক্ষেত্রফল
delta is equal to root over of s into s minus a into s minus b into s minus c square root.
দারুণ দারুণ। আমার মনে হয় দুজনকে যদি প্রাইজ দেওয়া হয় তো হবে।
PT Das Chadapur Vidyapith.
আচ্ছা,
Chadapur High School.
নেক্সট।
Okay, next question. So, Michael Jackson was facing a lot of criticism for the sudden noticeable change in his skin color. On February 10th, 1993, in the Oprah Winfrey Show, he said that he had a certain skin condition that he had inherited from his father, which was obviously the reason behind it. So, since discussing this condition was a taboo then, actually it still is, so he had never discussed it publicly. So basically, Michael Jackson হঠাৎ করে স্কিন কালারটা চেঞ্জ হয়ে যাওয়ার ব্যাপারে মানে অনেক শোরগোল করেছিল। এবার এই ওপ্রা উইনফ্রে শোতে গিয়ে উনি বলেন যে ওনার অ্যাকচুয়ালি একটা চামড়ার একটা অসুখ আছে, অসুখই বলা যায়, তো যেটা ওনার বাবার সাইড থেকে এসেছিল। না, Shetty is indeed the correct answer. English টাই বলতে পারবে?
White skin disease.
না না না, ঠিক আছে
ঠিক আছে, তুমি তোমার নাম আর স্কুলটা বলো।
Moralisa Hale Chadapur Vidyapith.
আচ্ছা, ইংলিশটা হচ্ছে ভিটিলিগো। আচ্ছা, পরের কোয়েশ্চেন চলে যায়।
Okay. In 1957, I became the one who had first traveled to space from the Soviet Union. Yuri Gagarin. Next clue. I was associated with Sputnik 2 mission by Soviet Union.
Neil Armstrong.
Neil Armstrong.
Laika.
Next clue to that. Arekbar bolo.
Laika.
Laika is the correct answer. Naam or schoolta?
Ruksha Roy, Ashwini Bhai Vidyas.
জোরে হাতে নজর। Next clue to that. Since spaceflight was not quite developed when I went to space, I died at the 4th orbit of the spacecraft due to the overheating in space at the age of just 2 to 3. তখন মানে সেই সময় যেহেতু স্পেসক্রাফটের প্রথম লাইটার হচ্ছে ফার্স্ট ট্রাভেলার ছিল, তো ওভারহিটিং এর কারণে একদম ফোর্থ অরবিটের কাছে ও মারা গেছিল আর কি, জাস্ট 2 to 3 years. I'm the first living creature belonging from Canis family species who was sent to space. Correct answer is Laika. Next question.
Okay, so when translated, this series of binary digits means I am feeling dash. So which was this company's first tweet, and it also completes a phrase on their homepage. So either fill in the blank or tell me which company it was.
Noun.
না, নয়। জোরে জোরে উত্তর ডিসকাস করুন না প্লিজ, আমরা এখান থেকে শুনতে পাচ্ছি।
Google, I'm feeling lucky.
That's indeed the correct answer. তোমার নাম আর শুনতে বলো।
প্রীতম গুহ, যাদবপুর বিদ্যাপীঠ।
Google আরেকটা অ্যান্সার দিয়েছিল। ঠিক আছে, দাও প্রাইজ দাও।
ঠিক আছে, নেক্সট কোয়েশ্চেন।
I'm an Indian female organic chemist working in the field of phytomedicine. The anti-epileptic drug IACS, which I developed from the Marcia milita, is one of my most well-known discoveries. Next to, I'm the first woman to receive a Doctor of Science from an Indian university, that is University of Kolkata, and also the first woman to be elected as the General President of Indian Science Congress. যারা নতুন তারা একটু কারণ একটু না না ওদিকে একটা হাত পিছনে একটু দেওয়া। আচ্ছা, তাহলে নেক্সট ইউ। Among my many achievements, I won the IACS Kolkata Award, C.V. Raman Award, Padma Bhushan for the special contribution to science, especially medicinal chemistry. আচ্ছা, একটা হাত উচ্চ করে শেষে দেওয়া যদি কেউ না থাকে, পিছন দিকে একটা হাত উঠেছে, একটা জোরে হাত দেওয়ার জন্য। আচ্ছা, বাকি একটা দেখো, I established the chemistry department in Lady Brabourne College and become the head of the department that college actually. Correct answer is Oshima Chatterjee. এটা একটা গুগল টুডে ওদের নামে করা হয়েছিল, তো 100 বার্থডে Oshima Chatterjee.
Okay, moving on to the next question. Acha, if Newton's field is associated with Sir Isaac Newton, radio with Marconi, telescope with Galilei.
একটু যারা যারা একদম কেউ পাইনি এটা একটু তাদের দেওয়া হবে।
জগদীশ চন্দ্র বোস।
ওকে, দিস ইজ দ্য কারেক্ট আনসার।
অগ্রগতিকারী যাদবপুর।
আচ্ছা, নেক্সট কোয়েশ্চন।
Acha, so on 14 November 2016, this Google Doodle appeared to celebrate Sir Frederick Banting's 125th birthday. So this day is celebrated to spread awareness about a lifestyle disease for which Sir Banting had actually developed a drug. So which life-saving drug's name has been planted? তোমরা কি ছবিটা দেখতে পাচ্ছ? কারণ ছবিটা অনেক বড়। আচ্ছা, ছবিটা ভালো করে দেখো, ছবিটা কিন্তু বেশ কয়েকটা ক্লু আছে।
ব্যান্ডিং ইনসুলিনের গঠন বর্ণনা করে নোবেল প্রাইজ পেয়েছিলেন।
একদম, the drug is indeed insulin. তোমার নাম আর স্কুলের
অভিষিক্ত চক্রবর্তী, যাদবপুর বিদ্যাপীঠ।
ঠিক আছে, পরের কোয়েশ্চেনে চলে যাই। So I was the son of a clerk, born and brought up in Patna, Bihar, and I attended a Hindi medium government school as we could not afford private schooling. আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, যেহেতু লাঞ্চের সময় এগিয়ে আসছে তাই আরেকটা কথা বলে দিই, এইরকম হু এম আই কোয়েশ্চেন থাকলে প্রত্যেকটা ক্লুতে দুটোর বেশি কিন্তু আমরা গেস এই মুহূর্তে নেব না। ঠিক আছে, নেক্সট ক্লু। I started my own institute, that is the Ramanujan School of Mathematics, in 1992, and within just 2 years the number of students increased to 500. Okay, next clue.
Ramanujan?
No, Ramanujan নয়। ঠিক আছে, next clue চলে যাই। I was conferred an honorary PhD by NIT, and in 2023 I got the Padma Shri awarded by the Government of India. Next clue. Based on my life and work, a Bollywood movie was released in 2019 and it starred Hrithik Roshan and it became a smashing hit. Movie naam bole hobe na, but মানুষটার নাম বলতে চাই।
Anand Kumar?
Anand Kumar
Sandanas, Jalpur High School.
আচ্ছা, তুমি কি মুভিটার নাম বলতে পারবে? Correct. ঠিক আছে, next question. আচ্ছা, this award ceremony was established to honor those inventions or discoveries that first make people laugh and then make them think. So when awardees, they often tend to go over time when they are giving the acceptance speech. So then a young girl is there whose name is Miss Sweetie Poo, who says this. Please play the audio. ঠিক আছে, উত্তরটা যখন বলে দিয়েছে নেক্সট ইয়েতে চলে যায়। উত্তরটা এসে গেছে, ঠিক আছে, আমরা এই কোয়েশ্চেনটা ক্যান্সেল করে নেক্সট কোয়েশ্চেনে যাচ্ছি। হ্যাঁ, তো this girl who was saying please stop, I'm bored. যারা কথা বলছে তারা ওভার টাইম চলে গেছে, তো তাদেরকে থামতে বলেছে। তো কোন অ্যাওয়ার্ড শো এটা, মানে কোন অ্যাওয়ার্ড সেরেমনি? আচ্ছা, যাই হোক, আনসার স্লাইডটা তো চলে এসছে, তো ঠিক আছে, এই কোয়েশ্চেনটা আমরা ক্যান্সেল করছি। তো আনসারটা হচ্ছে দি ইগ নোবেল প্রাইজ। ঠিক আছে, নেক্সট কোয়েশ্চেনে চলে যাই। So the person in the picture grew up to write this book. So he is much more well known for other much more scientific reasons. So who is he?
এখানে একটা ছবি দেখা যাচ্ছে, একজন সায়েন্টিস্টের ছবি, ফেমাস সায়েন্টিস্ট। তো তার একটা যে ইয়ে আছে, বই আছে, সেটা আইএস এন্ড ওপিনিয়ন। তো একটু বলতে হবে এটা কে, কার ছবি? খুব ফেমাস একজন সায়েন্টিস্ট। হাত উঠেছে। আইজ্যাক নিউটন?
Niels Bohr?
না। একজন ফিজিসিস্ট? মাদাম কুরি? না। এদিকে
স্টিফেন হকিংস?
না, স্টিফেন হকিংস না।
অ্যালবার্ট আইনস্টাইন?
Ashwin. Correct answer. Now locate the school, Jalapura school. Next one.
So I am an Indian entomologist, that is I study insects and I am a naturalist as well. Next one. I have no formal college degree, but I received an honorary Doctor of Science degree from the Calcutta University.
Salimani?
Na, Salimani Roy.
Gopal Chandra Bhattacharya.
Gopal Chandra Bhattacharya is indeed the correct answer. Very good.
Koliko Saha Jalapur Vidyapith. अच्छा बाकी साइड.
Much before the fact was established among other naturalists, I observed ants in the early 1940s and realized that they have a queen who sits at the top of the social hierarchy. And I have written many books including Kore Dakho and Bangla Ki Pothongo, all in Bengali because I was dedicated to popularizing science. So the answer is indeed Gopal Chandra Bhattacharya. Next question. This is a clip from the trailer of the movie Rocketry released in 2022, starring R. Madhavan as Nambi Narayanan, a rocket scientist associated with ISRO. So we will play a video. So you will see a person looking at a glass bell jar. Tell us which scientist it was.
सर दुनिया भर में लोग ना 60-70 टन की इंजन बना रहे हैं और हम यहाँ 600 किलोग्राम के खिलौना बनाकर खुश हो रहे हैं.
আচ্ছা যারা আগে উত্তর দিয়েছে তারা যদি একটু হাত না তোলে তাহলে ভালো হয়.
एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम.
That's indeed the correct answer.
Shomik Bharat Jalapur High School.
Next question for you. Acha. Ernest Duchenne discovered that a drug could cure typhoid in guinea pigs and kill bacterial cultures. However, when he sent his thesis for publication, it was completely ignored because he was just 23 then and he was quite unknown. And he died of tuberculosis in 1912 and he was not even aware that the drug that he had developed could cure it. Now the same drug was accidentally discovered later due to the bad lab practices of a certain Scottish physician. This person was more well known and he received the 1944 Nobel Prize in Medicine for the drug itself. But after, 5 years after 1944, Duchenne was finally acknowledged for his work. So which famous drug are we talking about? Drugটা খুব well known. I'm sure তোমরা সবাই শুনেছো ড্রাগটার ব্যাপারে. Penicillin is the correct answer. তোমার নাম আর শুনতে গেল.
नाम रॉमा हालदार, स्कूल राजपुर बालिका विद्यालय.
Great. So moving on to the next question. So you will hear a person speaking. Now tell us who is this person.
प्रश्न तो आपसे बहुत से पूछने हैं, लेकिन थोड़े से पूछती हूँ. ऊपर से भारत कैसा दिखता है आपको?
Question টা দেখে নাও. Who is the man speaking in this scene? পুরো ক্লিপটা চলুক তারপরে উত্তর দাও.
राकेश शर्मा.
উত্তর এসে গেছে.
अच्छा तुम्हारे कौन आंसर देगा.
আচ্ছা স্টুডেন্টদেরকে বলছো তোমাদের জন্য আর 3টে প্রশ্ন থাকবে, তারপরে অডিয়েন্সের জন্য কিছু কোয়েশ্চেন করা হবে, ঠিক আছে? যাই। Legend has it that the Apple logo is a homage to this person who had allegedly committed suicide by biting into a poisoned apple after he was prosecuted for being gay. But this is an urban legend. There is no evidence that this is 100% true. So this person is considered to be the father of artificial intelligence. He has worked in multiple areas, including cryptography and pattern formation in living organisms. So based on his life, a movie starring Benedict Cumberbatch was released in 2014. So tell us who he is and tell us what the movie is. আচ্ছা, তো অ্যাপলের যে লোগোটা আছে সেটা মানে ওনার উদ্দেশ্য, ওনার স্মরণে বানানো হয়েছে এরকম একটা কথা প্রচলিত আছে, কারণ উনি একটি সায়ানাইড দেওয়া অ্যাপেল খেয়ে মারা গেছিলেন, কারণ যেহেতু উনি গিয়েছিলেন তাই জন্য ওনাকে অনেক রকম ট্রাবল ফেস করতে হচ্ছিল। তো এই মানুষকে ওনাকে বলা হয় আর্টিফিশিয়াল ইন্টেলিজেন্সের জনক, এবং উনি বিভিন্ন এরিয়াতে কাজ করেছেন, যেমন ক্রিপ্টোগ্রাফি আর বিভিন্ন যে যারা বিভিন্ন জন্তু আছে যাদের স্কিনে বিভিন্ন রকম প্যাটার্ন আছে, যেমন চিতা, তাদের প্যাটার্নটা কিভাবে ফর্ম হয়, কিভাবে তৈরি হয়, সেটা নিয়ে উনি কাজ করেছেন। তো বেনেডিক্ট কাম্বারব্যাচ এনার ভূমিকায় অভিনয় করেছিলেন 2014-তে একটা মুভিতে, যেটা ওনার জীবনের উপর বেস। তো আমরা দেখেছি সায়েন্টিস্ট কে এবং মুভিটা। আচ্ছা, আর হচ্ছে
স্টিভ জবস।
না, স্টিভ জবস নয়, তিনি স্টিভ জবসের সমসাময়িক না, অনেক আগে। আচ্ছা, যদি মুভিটাও শুরু বলতে পারো বা নামটা বলতে পারো, দুটোর মধ্যে যখন একটা বলতে পারো তাহলে। আচ্ছা, অডিয়েন্সের কেউ কি পারবে? মুভিটা আচ্ছা, অডিয়েন্সের কিন্তু দুটোই বলতে হবে। আচ্ছা, কেউ কি বলতে পারবে নাকি আমরা আনসারটা দেখে দেবো? দুটোই বলতে হবে, অডিয়েন্স বলতে গেলে দুটো বলতে হবে। আচ্ছা, ঠিক আছে, উত্তরটা বলে দিই। অ্যালান টিউরিং, আর মুভিটার নাম হচ্ছে দি ইমিটেশন গেম। ঠিক আছে, নেক্সট কোয়েশ্চনে চলে যাই। আচ্ছা, তো একজন ডক্টর ইজ রেকর্ডিং দ্য কনভারসেশন উইথ আ পেশেন্ট। এই যে পেশেন্ট দেখা যাচ্ছে ইনি হসপিটাল বেডে বসে আছেন, একজন ডক্টর ওনার ব্যাপারে লিখছে, ওনাকে জিজ্ঞেস করছে, উনি উত্তর দিচ্ছেন। হোয়াট ইজ ইউর নেম? Augustine. Last name? Augustine. What is your husband's name? Also Augustine. Are you married to Augustine? Mrs. D. ওনার surname Mrs. ওনার নাম হচ্ছে Augustine D. So then she remembers, yes, Augustine D. How long have you been here? She seems to be trying to remember. 3 weeks. What is this? I show her a pencil. A pen. A purse. A key. A diary and a cigar are identified correctly. Ulo thik-thak identify koreche. At lunch, she eats cauliflower and pork. Asked what she is eating, she answers, "I am eating spinach." And when certain objects are shown to her, she does not remember which objects they are after a short time. So, which disease often seen among old people is the doctor identifying in this patient? Alzheimer's disease is the correct answer. আচ্ছা, এইবার এই কোয়েশ্চেনটা থেকে আমরা অডিয়েন্সের জন্য চলে যাব। ঠিক আছে, ডক্টর ফ্র্যাঙ্ক স্যার, এবার যারা অডিয়েন্সে বসে আছে শুধু স্টুডেন্টরা না, টিচাররাও চাইলে আনসার করতে So Dr. Frank Sire wanted a certain vehicle associated with educational institutions across the country to be the same color. This color was selected as black writing was the most visible on it, even in semi-darkness, so it would hopefully improve the safety standards of this vehicle. However, the paint contained chromium, which could lead to DNA damage eventually, so the formula was later changed, but not before numerous manufacturers and painters had already been harmed. So, which phrase or which vehicle's name fills the blank? I'm looking for a very specific category of vehicles.
School bus.
School bus is the correct answer. Very good. ঠিক আছে, এই নেক্সট কোশ্চেনটা শুধু স্টুডেন্টদের জন্য, তাই কিছু বোনাস। ওকে, Uganda released a commemorative coin in honor of this Greek philosopher. This coin also features his most famous formula. So, who is the philosopher and mathematician thus honored, and formula ta ki?
Pythagoras.
Formula ta ki?
AP square is equal to series.
That's correct. That's correct. Very good. Number 2. Rupokta, can you please come towards the stage for us? আচ্ছা, ঠিক আছে, তাহলে আমরা এখানে আমাদের কুইজটা শেষ করছি, and we hope you enjoyed the quiz. We hope you learned something new.
সবাইকে বলছি যে এরপরে লাঞ্চ সেশন আছে, তো তোমাদের সবাইকে রিকোয়েস্ট করা হচ্ছে যেখানে যারা ভলেন্টিয়ার আছে তাদের সাথে তোমরা ওয়েট দিতে যাবে এবং ভলেন্টিয়াররা তোমরা একটু গাইড করে নেবে, আর তারপরে দুটোর সময় আবার তোমরা এখানে ব্যাক করবে। থ্যাংক ইউ এভরিওয়ান।